Hello, my name is Kyle, and this is Reagan, and we're excited to present Quizlo, which we believe is not just a quiz, but the start of solutions-based journalism.
When presented with the challenge of measuring the impact of local news, Kyle and I immediately became stumped. Impact can mean many different things. To start our untangling of that loaded word impact, we did research to discover potential newsreader audiences and find out what problems they were having. That is when we stumbled on the 2023 digital news report conducted by Oxford University that surveyed over 93,000 digital news consumers. Their analysis found that fewer people are now participating in online news than in the recent past. Only around 22% are now active participators, with around half not participating in news at all. After our research, we defined three main newsreader personas so that we might better understand our audience. So this is Clarissa, a 22-year-old woman who is very engaged on social media. She follows the New York Times on X, but she will only read the headlines. We classify this type of newsreader as a headline hunter. Headline hunters interact with the news passively on social media. This is Timothy, a 35-year-old man who works an intense full-time job and has two young children at home. Timothy values information, so he's subscribed to multiple news organizations. However, because of his lack of time, he reads only a few news stories every week or month. We classify this type of newsreader as a crockpot consumer. With their subscriptions, similarly to a crockpot, they turn them on and forget about them, only interacting occasionally. Lastly, this is Beth. She is 63 years old and has been a resident of her community for 15 years and feels a deep care about what is happening in her town. She is subscribed to multiple news organizations, actively consumes news content, and desires to have her voice heard by her local journalists. We classify Beth as a reliable reader. Reliable readers actively engage with the news and newsrooms on a regular basis. Oftentimes, newsrooms can become so focused on increasing the engagement of those headline hunters and crockpot consumers that we forget about the loyal, reliable readers who are being lost at a rapid rate. These readers are concerned about what they see on platforms, with the majority of respondents saying that they have tried to influence story selection. All of this brought us to our problem, as well as a definition of impact in our case. Loyal audiences are becoming less engaged with local news. Therefore, we want to identify which specific content is meaningfully impacting reliable readers and which content is being received in a less meaningful way. Hopefully, this will help newsrooms find solutions to the problem of that rapid decline in active participation.
Now enter Quizlo, a solution for local newsrooms which not only measures the impact of local news through a quiz that gathers numerical and anecdotal evidence in a fun, engaging way, but it goes one step further by providing newsrooms with data that can be used for self-evaluation and spark future stories that local readers actually care about. All of this further improves the relationship between local newsrooms and their reliable readers. So what did we do? We partnered with the Columbia Missourian to run 2 news quizzes, crafting questions using 10 of the most newsworthy stories each week and delivering them in quiz form on the Missourian website. We chose 10 multiple-choice questions that range from state government and local business to sports and special section stories, all of which helped us analyze which stories were most well understood and where follow-up articles may be necessary. You can see here that this question quizzes individuals on what information they retained from the story on that week's city council meeting. Everyone who took the quiz and entered their contact information in optional text boxes was entered into a drawing for a Columbia-themed prize package, which provided further motivation to take the quiz. They also had the opportunity to check a box that said they would be okay with the Missourian contacting them to speak further. All of that engaged and encouraged future, more personalized engagement. At the end of the quiz, we allowed an optional comment box where readers could put general thoughts and suggestions based off of recent news content. That's where the anecdotal responses came in, and they provided us with the most useful, actionable information. The most important thing to note in this quiz is that it's not meant to trick readers, but rather allow for a loop of local news engagement. That's why links to stories are included in every question, which encourages readers to return to that week's stories and either reread them or read them for the first time. After a question is answered, a box will pop up and provide additional crucial information a reader should take away from a given story.
So we used a quiz software called Outgrow that allows for the creation of BuzzFeed-like quizzes without any coding experience. We chose this software because it requires no training, is intuitive, and operates off of an affordable monthly subscription in which the price varies based on what features you choose to include in your package. Here are some of the analytics it provides, such as geographical information on where people take the quiz, as well as how many people have used suggested links to read up on answers that they might have chosen incorrectly.
Now for the fun stuff. The numerical data informs us on the editorial areas in which people are not retaining information, such as local politics or business, for example. Additionally, raw numbers tell us when and how people are accessing the quiz, whether it be through social media and newsletters, as well as the average respondent age and how many people re-engage with the news from the previous week. One interesting thing we noticed, the quiz contributed to readers staying on the Missourian news site in some capacity. 71 out of 259 respondents went to other stories on the website from the suggested links shared in our first quiz. Most important, though, are those text box responses, which provide news organizations a better understanding of what people want to read. Those basic responses open another, more actionable door, which allows for direct connection between the aforementioned reliable readers and their local newsroom. All of this leads to readers feeling they are involved in local coverage and that their voice actually matters. Columbia respondents left roughly 1 to 2 sentence ideas for story coverage. In our case, this helped us gather the very useful insight that many readers want to see the Missourians shed more light on minority voices in favor of providing as much coverage on something such as true-false.
How did we market it? The Columbia Missourian released a story about the quiz's launch on their digital website, as well as promoting it on their social media. As you can see here, the post got quite a bit of engagement. We also included a QR code in the physical print, which 51 people used to access Quizlo.
So if we continue forward with the scaling of Quizlo, we would start a campaign to personally follow up with readers who took the quiz to have meaningful conversations about local news. That's actually something that we started to do with our trial runs. We reached out with a personalized email to everyone who checked the "I'm willing to be contacted" box and received a response from every single person in which each respondent provided even more in-depth story ideas for what they wanted to see covered in local news. So not only did we measure the Missourians' impact by seeing where its stories are being read and by what type of audience, but we also engaged with those most interested in the Missourians' coverage, further strengthening the strong ties of local journalism within our community.
So, is this quiz useful to other newsrooms? Yes! The beauty of Quizlo is that the questions can be heavily tailored towards information the newsrooms are curious about. Do readers understand the local political coverage? What areas are there doubts that need to be clarified in future stories? For example, if the majority of respondents are continually getting the answers wrong for questions on health stories, then that might indicate an editorial need for more focused follow-up stories. The quiz itself comes at a very low cost. It does not take much manpower to launch and operate, and this can be used for any type of news, whether radio, TV, or print. It can be ran as often or as little as the newsroom needs information. Quizlo is the engine that drives proactive solutions to audience needs. So did we help address the problems identified at the beginning of this presentation? We did find an effective way to measure the impact of local news, while also establishing a way to further drive engagement, creating direct and meaningful relationships with those loyal, reliable readers. Additionally, our hope is that a fun, gamified take on news literacy will attract headline hunters and crockpot consumers and play a role in their transformation from passive consumers to those reliable ones.
So choose Quizlo. It's more than a quiz. It's the start of solutions-based journalism.
Thank you!